Check. 1, 2.
The D. Brief. This is the D Brief.
Go. Your guide to Detroit.
Your guide to Detroit's arts
and entertainment scene.
This is the D
Brief.
Hello and welcome to the Debrief, your podcast for Detroit concerts, comedy, plays, food, drink, and more. It is Tuesday, August 16th, and I am your co-host. My name is Seth Wrestler. Normally, my other co-host, Becky Scarcello, is here, but she is actually sick today. I was sick last week. I was flat on my butt for like 4 days. It was nasty. And Becky came down with something earlier today, and she's just like, I can't do it.
Wonder where she got that from.
It wasn't me. I didn't see her. You know, we were away. So we have somebody stepping in, stand-up comedian Alana Gonzalez. Thank you so much for pinch hitting.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, and you've got some radio in your blood too, right?
Yeah, it's been a minute, but it's like riding a bike.
Nice. Where'd you work here in town?
I worked for WMGC 105.1.
Nice.
Yeah, back when it was the Groove and then Magic and now they're doing throwbacks.
Well, thank you so much for stepping in. I really appreciate it.
So,
look, here's what we've got on today's show. We have a Detroiter who absolutely killed it at the Coachella Music Festival that just happened. We'll tell you about that.
Ooh.
Also, a Saturday Night Live alum who is from the Detroit area is getting a brand new show on Netflix. Yeah. And Friday's episode, you're going to hear Evrod Kasimi. He is the morning anchor on WDIV. He's got a new album out as well. It's an R&B album called Music.
I like that.
Yeah, so you'll be able to hear that as well. Look, a couple of things we talk about a lot in this podcast. If you want a list of links to everything that we talk about on the show, head over to our website, thedebriefdetroit.com, and sign up for our email list while you're there. And we will send you a link every single week. All right, Elena, you ready?
Ready.
Let's meet our co-host.
The D Brief.
Here's how it works, Elena. Every week we have a guest co-host.
Okay.
This week we actually have two guest co-hosts because you're a guest co-host.
I count as a guest.
It's just the way that it worked out. This week we have a food blogger. She is the woman behind the Bite Tonight food blog here in Detroit. You can find it at thebite and then the number 2 night.com. It is Jewell Dziendziel. Jewell, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
We have not had a lot of food bloggers on. I don't know that there are a lot of food bloggers here in the Detroit area. No? Do you guys all get together and hang out? Yeah.
I'm sure there's a community, but I know of a couple food bloggers,
right?
But there's not many of us.
You don't know the secret knock that gets you in?
No, I don't know. There's food influencers. There's like people that post on Instagram.
Yeah, that's
food
just
photographers.
Yeah. They can't write, right?
Well, I mean, I don't know what they can or can't do, but their pictures look very appetizing.
So I know this because I've traveled in the food blogging world in other cities a little bit, and I know that there's basically two types of food bloggers. There are food bloggers who write about cooking, and then there are food bloggers who write about dining.
Yeah.
Which are you?
So it's funny that you say that because I started maybe 8 years ago with just posting recipes. So I love to cook. I've been around cooking my whole life. My mom kind of cooked meals for us all the time, so I grew up in the kitchen. And then shortly after that, I kind of just threw food reviews into the mix. So I really like the whole idea of the dining experience, going out and trying new restaurants or just trying new things at existing restaurants that I've already been to, and then talking about it and sharing the experience with my friends and family. So,
that's fantastic. Kind of best of both worlds.
Yeah, and then every now and then when I need something to kind of fill space, I'll post a recipe or,
pull something from the archives,
Yeah.
recycle. Do you ever try and
faithful.
reverse engineer something that you've had at a restaurant?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, really? Have you ever successfully done it?
No. So, funny you say that. Selden Standard had this great dish maybe a year and a half ago. It was the squid ink pasta, and it was so delicious that I actually wrote them an email and asked them if I could have the recipe. So Chef Andy gave it to me, but it was all in like restaurant measurements, and they may have done that on purpose so I couldn't replicate it.
Right. What is a restaurant measurement? I don't know what that means.
I think I had to cut it down to like eighths because it was
like
huge.
3 tons of flour.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and it was down to like making the pasta by hand, or not by hand, but from scratch. So I even like bought squid ink from Amazon and tried to replicate it, and I failed miserably. And I didn't have a pasta machine. I didn't do any of that, but I tried.
And that really does come down to math skills more so than cooking skills.
Yeah. Yeah.
See, you can write, but don't make fun of all those people who are taking photos. They can add.
Yeah, I think I took algebra in high school, and then I stopped after that. So.
Yeah. See,
when am I going to need this?
we tried that cork. The wine bar on Woodward has these little iron skillets full of, I don't know if they were cherry peppers or what they were, but my girlfriend and I, our first date ever was there, and we go back for our anniversary every year, and we love this dish, and we tried making it at home, and it's not the same thing.
Oh.
Yeah, so we haven't been able to do that.
Yeah.
You have to get those pans.
Yeah, that was the you part, but you should get them with the Nestle, cookie mix that you're supposed to just bake a cookie in.
Yeah.
So that was as far as we got. After that, it kind of fell apart. You have any favorite places you've been to lately?
So lately, one of my most favorite would be Anti-Hero in Ferndale, and it's like Japanese pub, but they have this chicken fried tofu that was just amazing.
I've had that. That's good. Yeah, I don't even like tofu.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking that when I was eating it, through the haze of the sake that I had going.
Right.
This is really
to be
good tofu.
fair, chicken fried anything is not bad.
That's true.
Right, you're starting at a good base level.
Yeah, you can't even tell it's tofu. It's just fried, crispy deliciousness, and it has the sauce on top.
Yeah.
We got another order. It was so good.
Have you been?
Yeah.
I have not, but I'm excited to go now.
It's a cool space too. It's just like the decor is really nice in there.
It's contemporary. It's very open and like white and just clean and
big,
it's nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So Anti-Hero, definitely check it out. The one thing I will say is I love like craft beers and going in and ordering a flight of different beers and tasting the difference between all of them. When it comes to sake, sake and tequila, I just can't tell the difference.
I'm not a big sake person.
Yeah.
See, I like sake.
You just can't tell the difference.
Yeah, just all sake tastes the same. I can tell the difference between hot sake and cold sake.
Temperature.
And that's about it.
Every time it just kind of burns.
Oh, cool.
I still drink it, but
it's like hot liquor. It's weird. Hot vodka.
Yes.
Well, cool. Well, we're glad you're here. Hang out,
you.
have a good time, and enjoy the show.
Thanks.
This is the Debrief,
Want more?
your guide to Detroit's arts and entertainment scene.
Go to the debriefdetroit.com.
All right, guys, we're starting with music news. Here's what's going on. First of all, are you guys big music festival goers?
Yes, I went for many, many years. I haven't been in a little while because I have a new child. But yeah, I used to travel around and go to festivals in Baltimore and Chicago and love music festivals. But I've never been to Coachella.
So you would hit the road for music festivals?
Yes.
What about you?
Me too. I went to Bonnaroo last year.
Ooh, I've never been to that. Is that good?
It's in Tennessee. It was awesome. It was like 5 of my girlfriends, and we road tripped down there, and it was great music. And
did you do the whole camping?
No,
okay.
Not a dirty hippie. We didn't do that. But
you had to draw the line somewhere.
Yeah, we got an Airbnb. It was nice.
That's camping for some people. I mean, that's roughing it.
Yeah,
I've been in some Airbnbs that are,
Well, this was a nicer one. But there's a lot of people that still, just dirty, just tent,
Yep.
Yeah, sunburn. The first day we were there, this poor guy was so sunburned.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Coachella, of course, just happened. And one of the things that happened, I guess they were having a ton of audio issues at Coachella this year. Just real problems. But there was a Detroit native who was performing. It's her first time performing. Her name is Lizzo. She is a singer. She is a flutist. She is a body positivity advocate. And she was playing Coachella. And I guess she killed it, even though they were having all these audio issues.
Good for her.
Yeah,
Her backup
awesome.
singer track just died, went out, didn't work at all, and she still just started performing, and she was performing a cappella.
That's true talent.
And
It really is.
Yeah.
And to kill it and to hold the audience's attention. She live sampled Aretha Franklin's Respect, and she kept singing and rapping and dancing. She said later on to Variety magazine, I guess, quote, "It's my first time playing Coachella, so ain't nothing gonna F my time up."
That's what you got to do.
It's rock and roll.
Good for her.
That is rock and roll.
So she has a new album out. It's called "'Cause I Love You," and it is due out on the 19th. That's Lizzo. Go check it out.
That's fantastic.
You guys hikers, how far have you ever hiked?
How far is that door
Yeah.
from here? That's about
10 steps, maybe?
Yeah.
You?
Yeah.
I'm not an avid hiker, but I've hiked before, and I don't really count time and distance. More like time. So I've hiked for an hour or 2 hours, but like miles, I don't know.
Well, this guy's going to hike longer than you.
Yeah.
Mike Posner, the musician, the singer, who is
Yeah.
also a Detroit native.
He is.
Had a number of hits. He actually
know that.
just embarked on a 2,942-mile trek all the way across America. Left, as we're recording this on Monday, left today from Asbury Park, New Jersey, and he wants to go for years. He's always wanted to walk across America. He has never done it. But then after the death of his father, and he was also friends with the DJ, with Avicii.
Yeah.
And so that pushed him to say, you know what, I'm going to do it. I'm going to walk across America.
Wow.
The part of that blows my mind is a little bit is he's wanted to do it for years. Like, did he just watch Forrest Gump as a kid?
That's what I was just thinking.
And
Little
I
Forrest
want
Gump
to do
vibe,
that. Yeah.
Really, the part of it that gets me is like cars exist. Like, get a Greyhound bus pass. Like, what are you?
And what was holding him back before? Why now?
His big successful music career.
Yeah, he finally got sponsored by Nike or something, got some
Yeah.
good shoes.
Right. I mean, I want to walk across America, but my hit records are just getting in the way. That's a problem. They keep asking me to play the Super Bowl. It's things like that. Otherwise, I would totally do it. He's going to walk west to Detroit, and then he's on a diagonal path to the finish line, which is going to be in Venice Beach, California.
Sounds like poor planning. Like, I understand he's a local boy and he wants to come by and wave and,
Right.
and all that, but there's a better way to go across the country.
Hopefully, he's mapped it out so that he's here in the summer.
Yes.
And then he doesn't, get south until the winter. There's an RV that's going to drive ahead of him to each night's destination. Again, I would just hitch a ride.
Yes.
I'm sure they would be nice and let you do that.
Whenever the press is not there, that's when you sneak in the back of the RV,
Right.
and get a ride to the next destination.
But look, here's the
Call
thing.
Uber.
He is he is big into spirituality, and this is about him being present in the moment.
Oh, that's
is the
good.
idea.
Yeah.
Except that's weird to me because every time I go on a long trip, I'm always like, "Are we there yet?" I'm very much,
When is it going to
I'm
end?
very much living in the future. At least I'm living at the next rest stop. I don't know.
How long is something? I wonder how long something like that's going to take. I mean, it says he's got 500 albums downloaded on his phone, so he's ready to go. No repeats. Yeah.
Anyway, Mike Posner's got a current album out. It's been out since January. It's called A Real Good Kid. Couple of concert picks that Becky left for me. Thursday, April 18th, Brian McKnight is going to be performing at the Soundboard. On Saturday, April 20th, you've got a number of shows. The Revivalists going to be at the Royal Oak Music Theater. You a fan?
I'm actually going to that.
Really?
I'm not a huge fan, but I know
Just
some
a
of their
gamble?
music. Well, no. Well,
is it a date?
no,
What?
it's not a date. So
Oh.
just one of my friends asked me to go. So,
All right.
And I'm looking to kind of get into more of them and see what they have to offer. So
All right,
I'm
let us know.
excited. Yeah.
Also, you've got Boney James happening at the Detroit Opera Theater. Pop Evil is going to be at the Fillmore Saturday night. And then on Tuesday, April 23rd, you've got Rival Sons who will be performing at the Fillmore.
The deep breathe.
Breathe.
The deep breathe.
Ladies, I am a huge television binge watcher,
Me too.
Yes.
right?
Oh.
And we are living in the golden age of television.
We really are. Just
mean-
snuggle up in some sweatpants, grab some popcorn.
What have you been binge watching lately?
So, Game of Thrones, I've been binge watching because of the premiere.
Yes, because the
Season
premiere
just
happened.
came out.
So I was sick, right?
Yeah.
I was out on my back for 4 days,
Wow.
and I must have gone through 40 Game of Thrones episodes, just like as I'm coming in
Yeah.
and out of sleep,
Yeah.
And,
were you rewatching? or-
Yes, this
Yeah.
is the third time, and it makes so much more sense.
Yeah,
when
I have
you
to
go
do
back.
that. I forget things, or I'll fall asleep when I'm watching them, and I'll have to go back.
And some of the actors change for the same character, and you
Oh,
don't notice if
really?
you're not paying. Yeah,
Oh,
there's a
wow.
couple of those, right?
Yeah, because I'm late to the Game of Thrones game, so I'm just getting into it, and that was a big hang up for me, is that it is so convoluted and the universe, and I needed to watch it with someone that could answer all of my stupid questions.
kind of analyze it for you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so now I'm nervous.
It is
about
one of those.
seasons
Well,
ahead.
and it's one of those things where it really matters where they are, like
Mm-hmm.
what city they're in, or which is why they have a map at the the
Yeah,
title
at the beginning.
sequence that shows you what's going on. You really kind of have to pay attention. I've been binge watching a ton, and there's a couple series like that. Like I'm a huge The Wire fan.
Oh, The Wire is so good.
I never watched it,
Oh,
but
see,
it's good.
that's
I heard
another-
it's good, yeah.
And it's like Game of Thrones. It's one of those that if you watch it a second or a third or a fourth time, you'll get a lot more out of it because
Yes.
you'll understand all the characters and how a character, shows up in season 1 and then disappears till season 4 and is like hugely important. Stuff like that. Anyway, the website geek.com asked people which TV show they've binged watched the most in the past 18 months, and they broke it down by state. And overall, the number one show was Game of Thrones. That's what people have binge watched the most lately, which is amazing because this is the first new episode that they put out in like 3 years, I think.
I think they were gearing up for it. They were
I
getting
think so
ready.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that people were catching up. But that's not the number one show in Michigan.
That's interesting.
So the number one show that people have been binge watching in Michigan is Ozark, the Jason Bateman show.
Wow.
I can see that.
Where is that? That's set in the Ozarks.
Right.
But I wonder what the Michigan connection is there.
I don't know, maybe it has a Breaking Bad feel, so maybe we're just kind of reaching out for something
For
like that
anything.
to satisfy.
It is like a poor man's Breaking Bad.
Yes.
I thought. Do you watch this show? If you watch it, do you like it?
I've seen the first season, but I kind of fell off after that.
Yeah, I watched
So-
like 2 episodes.
Yeah, I couldn't. It didn't grab me.
You know what it was? Is that the character that was supposed to be the like white trash girl was talking way too intelligently for a white trash girl.
It's not
And I was just
Like,
like, it wasn't.
unbelievable.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah.
It really wasn't.
Yeah.
It was not believable. And so, and I love Jason Bateman. Like I love Arrested Development.
Of course. Yes, that's fantastic.
So, and Teen Wolf too. So, no, but I couldn't get into it. That's not the number one show in Ohio, for what it's worth. For what it's worth, in Ohio, the number one show is The Office. That's
I
what people
love
are.
The Office.
See, that's so hard. 'cause
Maybe you're living in the wrong state.
I
there.
know.
No, I'm fine right where I'm at, thanks, though.
Oh, that's so tough as a Michigan native. Like, oh, I want to love it.
Yeah.
I would like to say to the people of Detroit,
I can feel the difference.
Come down to Detroit.
The Detroit Institute of Arts,
The Detroit Zoo,
Michigan Science Center,
Detroit Cocktail Classic,
the Arab American National
the
Museum,
Little Caesars Arena,
the Henry Ford,
Eastern Market, the Q
the
Line.
Detroit Derby Girls.
Motor City Brew Tours.
I think everybody can feel
it's a
it.
comeback story that everybody's been rooting for.
Detroit is moving.
And you're listening to The Debrief.
And you are listening to The Debrief.
The debrief. Debrief.
The Debrief.
So, Jewell, is this your first podcast?
It is, yes.
You've never been on a podcast?
Never,
before?
no.
You've been blogging for how long now?
About 8 years.
Wow.
Wow.
And never podcast.
No, I listen to podcasts
What do you listen
all the
to?
time. So I will mainly listen to true crime and murder podcasts.
Oh, you're like my girlfriend. You like it when people hack each other up. And
Yes.
Yeah, the more twisted, the better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We need to compare notes after the show.
Okay.
You
I've got some
into that,
recommendations.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is not your first podcast.
No, I've done a few, mostly comedy podcasts.
Okay.
But
Because every stand-up comedian in town's got a podcast.
in their
'cause-
basement,
Right.
and
Yep.
yep,
They all think they're Joe Rogan and Mark Maron.
Yep. I've done 2 podcasts in cars.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, comedians in cars podcasting.
Yeah,
That's-
who would have thought? That's not derivative. Anyway, look, this is something that has happened a lot since Becky and I started the show. I mean, we've been doing this show for about 1.5 years now.
Okay.
And I've been podcasting for 8 years and in radio for 20. I love the space. I love audio. I love audio entertainment. Also, I'm way too short and fat to be on television.
Stay in your lane. That's you know it and you go it.
But we've had these guests over and over who have come on the podcast, who enjoy being on the podcast, and they've all said the same thing to us, which is, we've been thinking about doing a podcast.
Sure.
So we actually started Michigan Podcast Productions to help other arts and entertainment organizations launch their own podcasts.
That's fantastic because they're smart in what they know.
Yes.
They don't know all the
Yeah.
knobs and
This
levers.
is complicated.
and-
Look at this
yeah,
setup here,
yeah.
right? It's
There's
a
stuff.
lot of buttons to twiddle and things like
Yeah.
that. So, if you want all the details, if you've been thinking about launching a podcast, do us a favor. Go to MichiganPodcastProductions.com and you can get all the details, find out more about it.
The Debrief.
All right, let's talk about some of the things that are happening around town. Starting with this, how often do you guys go to the Detroit Zoo?
Oh, I go so much more now that I have a toddler. But I've always been a big zoo and aquarium fan.
How old is your kid?
He just turned 2 in February, so now it's just a nice place to pop him in the stroller and go look and roar at things. But yeah, in a few years he'll really get a lot more out of it. But
Yeah, my girlfriend has grandkids, 6 and 1. And
that's perfect.
we bought
6
the
is
season
perfect.
pass. Yeah, and to just go over there, it was the best investment we made.
That's
Because you
fantastic.
can just walk through and you
Yeah.
can go. You don't have kids, do you?
No kids. No,
All
but
right.
a lot of my friends have kids, so I kind of hop on their passes
Oh,
and
there you
I
go.
tag along.
Yes.
So yeah,
Well, there's a new benefit because there is a new study out that says hanging out with the animals at the Detroit Zoo can reduce stress.
Sure.
This is a study from the Detroit Zoological Society and Michigan State University. Participants in the study basically were hooked up to electrodes in a lab setting, and then they were given a verbal and math test and asked to deliver a speech, things that I can't do under the best of circumstances. And then they were separated into 3 groups, and they were either shown a video of a plain white screen, or Detroit traffic, or animals living at the zoo.
Detroit traffic. That seems a little setup there.
Yeah, a little setup.
Here's Detroit traffic. Here's a lion. Which one stresses you out less?
Although compared to other cities, our traffic isn't as bad.
No,
but
no,
yeah.
no, no,
true.
no, no,
Yeah, it's
no.
true.
Wait a minute here. I disagree. I've lived in a
Really?
lot of
No.
cities. The drivers here are more aggressive than I think anywhere I've ever been.
Which minimizes our traffic.
No. You guys pass on the right all the time. You tailgate all the
Yeah,
time.
I'm an aggressive driver,
always
so-
pumping my brakes. You guys
Yeah.
weave in
Maybe
and
you should
out.
drive faster.
Yeah.
I drive like a normal human being.
Define normal.
Maybe you should go to the zoo more.
Touche.
So anyway, they measured stress indicators like heart rate and skin conductance and facial reactions, and they discovered, look, these animals, they relax you.
What a surprise. Animals are cute.
Yeah.
Looking at cute things are nice.
Which of the animals relax you the most?
I love hanging out in the penguin house. Just kind of, I get silly and I like dancing with the penguins and making faces and it's fun.
They're
it's
cute.
fun. They are cute.
You?
I mean, I don't know if it relaxes me, but I really like the tigers, the lions.
nice.
And, yeah, those are my favorite.
All right. I like the butterflies. Those are the relaxing ones. You
Yeah.
go in there, you know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Nice.
And it's all, yeah. Anyway, you guys old school horror movie fans?
I am.
You are, right?
Yeah.
You like Game of Thrones. When you were watching that Game of Thrones, didn't it feel like Godzilla at certain points? Like when
I didn't get that vibe.
Oh, really?
but-
When they climb on the dragon, like
Oh, well.
there's a moment
Okay.
where the CGI is pretty good, but it's not quite good enough,
Yeah,
and
I
you're
can
like,
see that.
yeah, you know, when
I love the
when
dragon,
Daenerys
so.
and Jon Snow like fly off and have a romantic moment,
Yeah.
it felt like Aladdin meets Godzilla for me.
A little bit, yeah, like magic carpet ride,
right?
but
Like
on the
I totally
dragon.
thought
Okay, I
he was,
can
he
see
was gonna
that.
break into I can show you the world or
Yeah.
whatever.
I would love a musical
There's the
interlude
waterfall in the
middle.
background. Yeah.
Anyway, old school horror movies. There was a legend here in Detroit who passed away last week. Ron Swede, who is better known as the Ghoul.
The Ghoul.
Yeah, do you remember this guy?
I do, and I am not a horror movie fan, but the Ghoul, he was one of those guys, kind of like an Elvira, where they would play old movies on TV here. He was on Channel 50 and then went to Channel 20, and he would kind of interject in the commercial breaks, and so he had this set, and I was beginning to wonder that maybe he's the reason why I don't like horror movies. Like he was so
ruined it for
believable
you?
and would kind of creep me out, but in a good way. Like he was great at what he did, but as a kid, yeah, he was creepy.
Yeah. So this is obviously before I came to Detroit.
Yeah, I'm not
before your
familiar.
time. He had a fake mustache and
Yeah.
an eye patch and all.
Yeah.
And anyway, the Redford Theater is hosting a tribute show on Thursday the 18th to people who want to, go pay tribute to the
That's great.
Ghoul and remember their fond memories. Also, I will say this: our friend Tim Kiska, friend of the podcast, he's the guy who produces the Detroit History podcast.
Oh, okay.
And they did an episode on the Ghoul.
Oh, Oh, nice.
So if you want to learn more about
Yeah.
it, I highly recommend you. He does a really nice job with that podcast. Speaking of shows by Detroiters, have you guys thought about, if you ever get a show, what you'll do with that show? Like, what will your show be about, Jewel? Will it be a cooking show?
Probably food, or maybe it would be studying or researching what murderers' favorite meals were. I don't know.
That's actually a great twist.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
What was the last meal they ate before they killed? I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, something.
Oh, wow.
Wow. What
I'll
about
keep thinking.
what about you? What's your
I've only thought about this every single day of my life, and that would be a game show. I want to be a game show host like you would not
Really?
believe. Yes, absolutely.
like
Be good at it.
I love it.
what
Love
kind of
it.
game show?
Like match game style. Do you guys remember the match
Oh,
game?
yeah.
Like from the late 70s, where they would have 6 celebrities. Everybody's just sitting there getting drunk and cracking jokes, and then 2 contestants are kind of there, sort of. But no, I grew up just absolutely loving a game show. So
Wow.
that's me. What's yours?
Yeah. Well, first of all, Jeopardy's going to open up soon.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
You've got that.
That's
That's
right.
true. And I did work in bar trivia for a little while, so
There
I've
you
already
go.
got that.
If I were going to do a show, I don't know that I would do a game show, but if I were going to do a game show, it would be the Gong Show.
Oh,
I actually
that would be
hosted a live version of a Gong Show in a different city once. I've thought about doing this in Detroit. I would love to do this, where it's just it's basically a ridiculous version of America's Got Talent.
It really, really is.
Okay.
It really is.
Yeah. Anyway, there is a Detroiter who is getting his very own show. 2, the first one is Tim Robinson. I don't know if you guys saw the show Detroiters.
Yes.
When it was on Comedy Central. Ran
I
for
have
2
not.
seasons.
Oh, it was very funny.
It was
I thought it was
mildly
very funny.
amusing.
That's interesting because I thought it was very funny, but I got a lot of the references.
Right.
And I always wondered if someone who didn't grow up here would have the same experience. So if you didn't get it, that would make sense.
So there was a precursor to this podcast, The Debrief. It was called Detroit versus Detroiters.
Okay.
Mike Jeter, stand-up comedian, local stand-up comedian who you know.
Yep.
He and I started that podcast. It was called Detroit versus Detroiters. And we did it just because we knew that this TV show was coming out. We didn't know anything about what the TV show was going to be about or if it was going to be any good. We just said, let's just do a podcast together and let's do
Right.
it around this Detroit TV show. Mike is from the area. I am not. And so, and this show was very much about Detroit. It was a lot of Detroit references.
Yes.
It was essentially the 2 main characters ran a local ad agency. And so every episode would be centered around a parody of an ad
Yes.
from Detroit's history, like Dietrich Furs.
Dietrich Furs, yep,
right?
that's the
Or
one I was thinking
What was
of.
the Sexy Specs, or,
Yep.
things like that.
DOC.
And I didn't know what any of these were. So this podcast wound up being kind of like a decoder ring for Detroiters.
nice.
It was Mike explaining all these references to me that I didn't and that was
Yeah.
how I learned about Faygo and Better Made Chips and all this stuff. And that was what
And
led
Bill
to this.
Bonds.
Right.
Yeah.
And that was what led to this podcast happening.
Okay.
But I thought the show was a great homage to Detroit. I don't know that I thought it was like a hilarious show.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it ran 2 seasons.
And I think that's why it ended up, because I'm sure the viewership felt the exact
Right.
same way.
Right.
It's going to go great for people that get it, but if you don't,
But
you're out.
it has opened some doors. So Tim Robinson, who's the white guy in the pair, he has a new sketch comedy show that's coming out on Netflix. It's a 6-part series, and it's called I Think You Should Leave with Tim Robinson. And it debuts on Netflix on April 23rd. And he's got a ton of guest stars in the trailer. You can see Sam Richardson, who was on Detroiters with him. You can see Will Forte, Cecily Strong from Saturday Night Live,
Saturday Night Live, yeah.
Andy Samberg, Stephen Yuen from Walking with the Dead, The Walking Dead.
Oh, The Walking
is
Dead,
gonna be
yeah.
on. Yeah, so a number of people. So look for that.
That should be great.
On Netflix. It looks like it could be very funny. Because frankly, Detroiters was kind of a collection of sketches. That's where...
It really was.
Yeah.
It really was.
And those guys come out of improv theater here in Detroit, right? They
Yeah,
come
Second
out of
City.
that scene. Yeah. The other Detroiter that's getting a show is Jamel Hill. former ESPN host. You may remember that she made a bunch of remarks about Trump, and that's what brought a lot of attention to her. But she's done a lot of amazing things above and beyond that, and really should be known for a lot more than that. She just launched a brand new podcast with Spotify. It's called Jemele Hill is Unbothered, and it's not only going to cover sports, but it's going to cover other issues as well.
Oh, that's great.
Also, you guys big like carnival ride people? You guys that go on roller coasters, things like that?
Yeah, I'm huge on roller coasters. I'm 50-50 on Carnival because it really depends on the carny that's running the ride.
Yeah.
But yeah, roller coasters, all about it.
You, Jewel?
Yeah, I'm a thrill seeker.
You really?
Yeah.
You do Cedar Point? I've never done that.
I love Cedar Point. I haven't been in a few years, and I've been itching to go. But there
Really?
was one year where I got a season pass, and I think I went 5 times to Cedar Point. I went one time to Michigan Adventures, and then once to Kings Island. I really got my money's worth.
They actually, and I should have pulled this up, but Cedar Point is advertising this year. They're trying to get more Michiganders to come down, so they are running some very awesome deals.
Oh, that's awesome.
On tickets.
Okay,
yeah.
perfect.
Do you ever worry about the rides, being broken or falling apart? Or
Not at
anything
Cedar
like
Point, but when I go to other just amusement parks outside of Cedar Point, like Six Flags or even like the little small carnival rides, for sure.
Yeah.
It worries me when a ride can just be thrown up in a few hours, how safe it is.
Yeah.
So I bring it up because there's this place called Jeepers at the Lakeside Mall in Sterling Heights, and it has been issued a cease and desist order by the state of Michigan for, quote,
jeez.
operating hazardous and unsafe carnival/amusement rides.
Oh my
I can
gosh.
see it. Do you guys remember that video a couple years back where it was like the carnival ride fell apart or something, and like the
No.
little kid flew off? It was bad. It was scary. Remember it?
I think. Well, I'm thinking of a different one, but it was at
Maybe it wasn't a
water
carnival.
park. It was a water park in Texas, and the kid went off the slide, flew off.
That's my
the
fear,
slide.
because those edges aren't very high at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
Scary.
and I won't get into what happened, but it did not.
Ooh,
yeah,
dangerous.
it did not go well for that kid.
Apparently, Jeepers had missing parts, cracks in the equipment, leaking hydraulic lines, dysfunction, and more.
Jeepers alone doesn't sound like a quality operation.
No, I don't know, but here's some of the rides. Banana Squadron,
Oh, super safe. Super duper safe.
JJ's Driving School,
Don't want to go there.
No.
the Python Pit,
It's just a bathtub full of snakes. That's what it is.
and my favorite, Yak Attack. A couple other things going on around town. On Friday, April 19th, you've got The Empire Strips Back. It is a burlesque parody at the Fillmore, Detroit.
Everything about that is great. Every single word is great.
Star Wars fans, either of you?
I've never seen Star Wars.
I've never seen Star Wars either.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
We can't be friends.
We're kindred spirits.
Cannot be friends. Also this weekend, all weekend long, you've got Detroit's Mike Larry, a.k.a. Larry Williams, a stand-up comedian who's going to be headlining the Punchline Comedy Lounge in Southfield for the very first time. Have you been in that room?
Yes. Yeah, it's a great space.
Yeah.
That should be a great show.
This is a great show if you want to go support local comedy. I love supporting, Detroit comedians who are doing their first headlining set in their
Yes.
home club. That's
Yes.
a really cool thing. And also all weekend long, you've got Tyler Perry's Medea's Farewell Play Tour that's going to be at the Fox Theater.
This is the D.
Detroit.
This is the D brief.
All right, there you go, guys. That's a show.
Oh,
That's a wrap.
nice.
I know. It's hard to believe. Time flies,
It
doesn't
does
it?
fly.
But you can come back tomorrow, and we'll do another one. Don't worry. A couple announcements before we get out of here. We have a mobile app. There's all sorts of bonus content in there. For example, we interviewed Mark Ridley of
Oh.
Mark Ridley's Comedy Castle.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, you want to hear that full interview? That's in there.
I'm getting the app.
Yeah, we all sorts of people that you can find in there. Also, we have an Alexa skill. So if you have an Amazon Echo, all you have to do is say, Alexa, enable the Debrief podcast. And don't forget, on Friday, Evrod podcast me of the WDIV morning show. He's going to be on the show to talk about his new album, Music.
I love that name.
It's
Music.
pretty cool, right? Look, before we get out of here, we always like to give shout-outs, something local that we like to acknowledge. Elena, let's start with you. What do you want to give a shout-out to?
So I've actually got two. I'm sticking with the local comedy. You were talking about supporting local comedy. The first one is something that you can do each and every weekend. He just mentioned, Mark Ridley. We know that we've got some great larger clubs in the area, but there are some comics that are working with the great people at Ant Hall that have actually opened up the Independent Comedy Club that runs in Hamtramck. It's in the back of Ant Hall behind Ghostlight, and they do shows every Friday and Saturday from 8 to 1, and it's a great mix of local and up and coming, as well as headline comedians. So it's a great way to spend a weekend and support local comedy.
The grand opening just happened, too, right?
The grand opening just happened weekend before last, and they had Eddie Pepitone come in and really kind of christen the stage, and it was a great weekend.
A couple of comedians that have been on the show have been on there. For example, Jeff Horst, who apparently is back in town. I thought he left. I
Just
thought we
for
ran
a
him out of
little
the
bit.
state.
We did, but he popped back in, and he's leaving again at the end of the month.
Gotcha. And Josh Adams performed as well,
Josh
right?
Adams.
That's a funny dude too.
Oh,
yeah.
they were great. They were great. And then also, coming up in September, the Motor City Comedy Festival will be running September 19th through the 22nd. And that's really a great conglomerate of, again, local comics and at a lot of different venues. And they bring in national headliners. They haven't announced their headliners yet, but this will be their third year. And they've gotten some really great names in the past. They're running out of Planet Ant, out of Sanctuary, and at the Detroit Shipping Company. So you can check that out online, motorcitycomedyfest.com.
Cool. What about you, Jewel? Anybody you want to give a shout out to?
Yeah, so one of my longtime friends, Edric Godet, and her business partner, Damian Gabriel, are opening up Gabriel Hall. It's going to be a Louisiana-style restaurant in West Village. They're aiming for the fall, but until then, they're just doing pop-ups. So I've been to a few of these pop-ups. They've been doing them for a couple years, and they're awesome. They usually sell out within the first hour. So they usually have live music, which is great too. This one, they're doing a pop-up Sunday, April 28th from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. It's brunch for dinner. It's at Mudgie's, so in Corktown. And for this one, they're asking everyone to pre-purchase food items through Eventbrite. And there is a link on their Instagram, which is at Gabriel Hall DET. So that's open to purchase right now through April 26th.
Brunch for dinner is delicious.
Yeah, and they actually have Bananas Foster's on the menu. And you can look up the menu on Instagram. They usually have some vegetarian options too, but their food's really good. So.
I need to go to more pop-ups. How do you get into the pop-ups? How do you know where all the pop-ups are happening?
I mean, I can tell you guys a lot of pop-ups.
That's true. We should just read your blog.
But I just research them. But yeah, I mean, it's been super popular lately. These pop-ups are popping up everywhere. So, yeah.
Well, look, I want to give a shout out. When I wasn't sick, or before I got sick, I was actually out in Las Vegas last week, and we decided to do something that we hadn't done before. We'd always wanted to go to the D, the hotel and casino out there, because we always heard that it was the Detroit-themed casino. This is not on the Strip. This is downtown, which I prefer.
Old Vegas.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the Strip. There's too much going on for me. I like old Vegas. And I like a lot of the new stuff that's going on the other side of, the Fremont Street experience, the Container Park and all that in Vegas. But we were at the D. I don't know that it's that Detroit themed. It's a nice hotel.
It is. Yeah, I went when they first put it in, and really, maybe you could have gotten Verner's at the bar, and that was kind of.
There's an Andiamo there.
Now there's an Andiamo,
and there's a Coney place there. But other than that, I don't know that it's all that Detroit. But it was a nice hotel. We did have fun there. So I also found out that the D doesn't just stand for Detroit. It also stands for downtown, as in downtown Vegas. So it's kind of a.
That makes a little more sense as to why it's not all.
Yeah. So, but great place, and we enjoyed it quite a bit. Look, thanks to both of you. Elena, thanks for stepping up and filling in for Becky when she's sick.
Get well soon, Becky.
Yes. Yeah. And Jewel, thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Want to read your blog? Where can they find it?
So my website is www.thebite.com. 2night.com. And then I post a lot on Instagram. So my handle is @TheBiteTonight.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, we'll check it out, and we'll talk to you, both of you, tomorrow, right?
Perfect.
Yes.
Sounds
All right.
great.
Until then, Detroit's moving. Keep up.
The debrief.
Your guide to Detroit's arts and entertainment scene.
Hi, Craig Foley here. If you're listening to the Debrief podcast, well, I've got two things to say to you. One, you have impeccable taste. Two, you care about the community that is Metro Detroit. That's why I think you'd appreciate my daily show, The Craig Foley Show on Deadline Detroit. Every weekday, I tackle the big issues in politics, business, arts and culture, sports. Whatever's on the mind of Detroiters and Michiganders, we will talk about it. It's all open for discussion. And keep this in mind, news doesn't have to be boring. Sure, we talk about serious stories and we have interviews and commentary, but we do it in a way that, if I'm doing my job right, is informative but also entertaining. Check out The Craig Foley Show on Deadline Detroit for news, knowledge, hopefully some fun tossed in.